Hello everyone, welcome back to This Is Why We Stand on Westchester Talk Radio. We are broadcasting live from Trinity Fitness and Nutrition in Rye, New York. I am your host, Joe Archino. We are produced by Shark Creative and made possible by Entergy Indian Point Energy Center, Hightower Westchester, White Plains Hospital, Westchester County Office of Economic Development, Robeson, and Accorda Therapeutics. Welcome to our first program of 2019. This is a very special show. We're in a very special place with one of our favorite guests, Mike Doody, leading us off. You know what his segment is, Intellectual Combat, but there's a very significant reason we're here today, and we would not have a show today at Trinity Fitness and Nutrition without Mike. Mike, this is your place. This is your stomping grounds. Thank you for letting us be here today, and it's just so good to be back with you.
Oh, absolutely. It's our pleasure. We are definitely thrilled to have the show here and have it go on. Until we can find another place, or even if we can't, we'll have it here for as long as we possibly can. We also have my partner and co-owner, Dennis Briscoe, in the house, and our GM, Steve Giorgio, and I'm hoping we can get a little spiel out of both of them today. They're extremely knowledgeable, and I love to be in business with them.
Absolutely, and I think the first time anyone who's walked in here so far has just come away being so impressed. It's impossible not to. I mean, the equipment is the best of the best. We're certainly going to get into that, but first and foremost, for anyone who wants to go on your website, obviously, there's a great story about the reason why this is named Trinity Fitness and Nutrition. Obviously, Mike, from people who've listened to this program before, they know you're an Army vet. You spent a lot of time. You obviously had a lot of stories that you've told about us, but can you tell us about the significance of the name?
Sure, and a little bit of what I'm going to speak on today, I kind of touch on it, but I'm more than happy to do it right now. So the name is kind of a funny thing. And the name didn't really dawn on me until, weeks or even a couple months into us preparing to open this place. Trinity is symbolic because it was a nickname of one of my friends who was killed in combat. When I was over in Afghanistan, he was one of my best friends. We used to work out together and do MMA together and just sit down and kind of, BS together, and just a very, very good guy to be around. And he was also a sergeant at the time, and I was a private coming up through the ranks, so he kind of took me under his wing and really taught me a lot. And I figure that giving back to not only the veteran community, but honoring his name is something, really the least I could do. So I was sitting in my kitchen one night. I remember me and Dennis were texting, and we were going back and forth. We were thinking like Hustle House and stuff like that. And everything was kind of tacky. Nothing was really solidified. And I didn't think it would really fit well in Rye, and then it really dawned on me that Trinity is the perfect name. It's upscale, but it's sleek, it's modern, it's kind of cool and hip at the same time, and it is cool for the athletes as well. It's just a catchy name overall, and it actually fits our motto of strength, metabolic conditioning, and nutrition, the triad. So it worked hand in hand on both accords. Honoring him and his name. I actually have a tattoo on my right forearm that in between the Trinity symbol, there's three kind of blank spaces, and it's VBA, his Vincent Brian Atkinson, his full name. So everything, now we just replace that with strength, metabolic conditioning, and nutrition, so everything kind of went hand in hand. But today is more about the entrepreneurship and the creation of the entrepreneur through living in such a free and prosperous country. I don't think there's a country, actually I know there's not a country on earth, that someone could have exited the military and had what I'm going to call semi-success upon leaving. There's not a country that would have allowed someone to do that with a free market system like America has. So what I truly believe is that America embodies the spirit and opportunity to allow all aspiring entrepreneurs and individuals who want to make something of themselves not only succeed but thrive because of those markets. And what I'm going to do is tell a story from the entrance of my service until now. I've touched on previous shows about my life leading up to the service, so I don't kind of want to beat a dead horse. I want to move on through that, but it's definitely been a crazy journey, man. There's been so many high points throughout my military career, and so many low points of madness and disdain almost. But one day, hopefully not anytime soon, I really want to be sitting down and having my grandkids or just kids sitting around and be able to express to them truly a life story of success. and what America can do for anyone and the entrepreneur. So I've explained my entire story leading into service like I just talked about on previous episodes, and I definitely want to elaborate on where I am today, and how veterans have such a distinct advantage, and how it's helped me in a professional manner greatly. So I spent 8 years in the Army, and more than half of that, I always felt like I was deployed or I was out in some kind of training event. I just never felt like I was truly home, no matter what base I was at. And I remember sitting down with my wife and discussing that. She's like, Mike, you were never home. And I was like, Lauren, at the time I felt like I was always home, because to me it was a monotonous, successive type of day. You go to work early at 4 or 5 a.m., you work out for an hour and a half or 2 hours, you do your work day, you go out to training, sometimes you stay there for a couple nights, but then you're home. So I was home for like these 2 to 3 day stretches, but I never calculated in my head that, maybe that really takes a toll on your family. And it definitely did. But something that maybe people don't know about me is that I was like your typical type A hard charger in the military. And I definitely wanted to be the go-to guy for all kinds of physical fitness or marksmanship or calling for fire, clearing buildings, hand-to-hand combat. I didn't care what it was. I wanted my men to always feel that they had like the biggest badass and smartest tactician on their side, essentially, for lack of better words. But they needed to understand, my men that they could follow me into combat and still be at a sense of internal peace and understanding that we always have the upper hand on the enemy. So the worst thing that you can possibly do as a leader is be a lackluster leader and have your men believe that the enemy can either get the upper hand tactically or technically. You never want that to happen, and if you do, you need to reevaluate yourself. So that's something I took great pride in. And the Army also tested me greatly, and just in physical and mental capacities that I couldn't have imagined before I went in. But I never pushed true capacity like I did in the military. With anything I did, and I wrestled, I played football, baseball, you name it, and nothing truly pushed me to my limits. And the thing on the civilian side is that I look at it like a day at the ice cream shop most of the time because of these limits. And, I don't say that condescendingly. I kind of say that in a light that I want other people to experience, and whether it be through exercise, which is perfect, or just in their personal life, people have to push their limits to truly understand what they're capable of. So absolutely nothing about putting yourself through this is fun for weeks or months on end. Absolutely not. But for me, it was very prideful and honorable. And the drive and internal fire that kind of carries your momentum is all stemmed from acceptance that you are America's fighting force. And if you cannot succeed and accomplish any mission placed in front of you, the lives of Americans are placed in jeopardy. And it's definitely that sense of communalism pride that I touched on last show that I cannot really explain well enough through this podcast. But I said it last time too. Sebastian Junger's got a great book called Pride. A great book called Tribe, and I implore everyone to check it out. So as my years went on, and 3 re-enlistments later, it came a very difficult situation and decision that I had to make. Was I going to stay in the military or not? And I remember everyone just believing that I was a lifer and I'd retire someday. No one really believed that they could envision me stepping out the doors. But I knew that my family deserved stability and a dad that was going to be around. And at the time, me and my wife only had Joey. Chris wasn't in the picture, my little guy. But still, that was enough, because I know that kind of on the back burner of my mind, we wanted to have more kids, and it just wasn't going to happen with my rapid deployments and so on and so forth. But I knew that my family deserved that type of stability, and it was finally decision time, and I did decide to get out. People were definitely baffled too, and didn't want to believe any of it until I left, and I had a big ceremony, and then I drove off post, and that was truly surreal. That feeling of driving off post, I don't think I'm ever going to feel that again in my life. It's inexplainable. I mean, I drove off post. I remember seeing the Fort Drum signage in my back rearview mirror, and just thinking to myself, like, you gotta be kidding me right now. You know, I'm truly on leave, and I have the freedom to say and do or choose to do anything that I want to. And I never, ever had that for almost a decade. So Lauren and I eventually packed up our house in Sackett's Harbor and picked up and moved back to New York. So we grew up in Jersey, in Ridgewood, New Jersey. And we wanted to be close enough to Ridgewood where we could still see family and friends, but we didn't want to exactly move straight back there. Because to me, it was kind of like I didn't want to go back to where I started. I just wanted to start fresh. And so right before leaving the military, you do this thing called SFL TAP. It's Soldier for Life Transition Assistance Program. So I went through the program, and they teach you about everything, like all kinds of stuff. It's like getting a mini MBA class jammed into a week. Just learning about, you know, how to reintegrate and write resumes, finding the right mortgage people to go to, you know, bills on the outside, so on and so forth, and so much more. I'm not even touching on a bunch of it. That's just off the top of my head. But the thing that really helped me was the resume building, because at the time, you know, I already went to school. I still had my GI Bill, and I really wanted to get my master's in something. I didn't know what it was quite yet. So the resume building definitely helped me. And I started shooting resumes out to all kinds of places, and I found Rye Health and Fitness with Dennis Briscoe. And that's what I chose to dive into, and RHF's been great to me since, and it's helped my business grow, and it almost grew instantly when I got there. People were very, very welcoming. But about a year went by when I was working there, and I knew I wanted to do more. There was something in me that I just had this drive. I had this instinct that something greater had to come in my life, and I decided to go back to school to get an MBA. And I saw that in Dennis too. He definitely knew that I wanted more, and I wanted to build something else with him. And so I got my MBA, and all in all, it took me about 18 months to complete, and a lot of long nights. But the GI Bill was one of the greatest gifts that I've ever received for serving this country, and it gave me a master's degree in business, free of charge too. So 2 years into my career at RHF, Dennis offered me a partnership, which I took. And at the time, Dennis and I had full intentions of continuing the fitness business down the line with new and innovative facilities. So this is where Trinity, where we're all sitting today, that's the byproduct of a vision that me and him had probably a couple years ago. And this is actually the exact business model and plan that I did my MBA capstone on.
Wow.
I went back into my files, we picked it up, and we ran with it. We revamped a couple things here and there, being, you know, locality stuff. But yeah, it's the exact plan. And there's definitely been a lot of hours poured into this opening that me and Dennis have put in. But the name of this place, like I was saying before, and it's something I was going to touch on now, it didn't come to us quickly. And I speaked on it at the beginning, so I won't beat a dead horse, but the About section of our website kind of explains it all more in depth, and it's definitely something that I take pride in. And it, like I said, it does embody our strength, metabolic conditioning, and nutrition. And every one of our sessions here will encompass all of those aspects. So how we set it up here is we have Monday and Wednesday, we call them our foundations. So foundation is more strength focused, but it still will give you the conditioning, and then I'll touch on the nutrition aspect at the end. And then Tuesday, Thursdays, we have a build and burn. So that's more building up a sweat the whole time. You can mix in your strength with getting more of the conditioning aspect, and then Friday, Saturday, Sundays are tri-fit. So that's where we truly break it down and give you all three at once. But opening this second location has definitely been a dream come true, and we aren't finished yet. So definitely stay tuned. And what service to our nation has taught me was that absolutely anything is possible. You can be anywhere from anywhere and succeed in a place like America, and you cannot say that about any other country in this world. There are zero boundaries and zero equality of outcome. So the primary source of success or failure is always in your mind. I truly believe that. And my benefits, and so many of all of our benefits as veterans, have tremendously helped for sure. But I truly believe that the lessons I've learned and the discipline that I've instilled in myself and the tribulations that I've endured personally are the drivers behind all of this. So what I want to touch on real fast is a little bit about Steve, who is our general manager, and the Dennis. I believe Dennis is going to come on and speak, so I'm going to leave that to him. But also our employees that we have here, who are absolutely phenomenal, and then our model. I briefly touched on that. I want to touch on the athlete program a little bit, and then what we do with our meal prep. So Steve Giorgio is our general manager here. Steve originally came on board at Rye Health and Fitness. Dennis knew Steve through some friends, and Steve was one of the strength and conditioning coaches at Iona College. And he worked primarily with the women's basketball team, but he was around, all the teams in general. And he really made a big name for himself, and Steve really wanted to be in that realm and in that world. And we wanted to give that to him. And it's really hard at just a personal training studio to do that. You really need to branch into the athlete sector. And so when me and Dennis were opening Trinity, really to keep Steve here, because he's such a phenomenal guy, such a likable guy, he really takes his job seriously. He created essentially all the programs here. I can say that with full humility. I mean, he is that smart of a guy, and we trust him that much that what you get here is almost all of his programming. So we put an offer on the table to him, and he took it. And really, we want him to kind of implode from within this athlete program. And I really do think it is. Anyone from Rye, anyone from Harrison, anyone from the surrounding parochial schools, even branching out to Mamaroneck, to Greenwich, we want them all. There is zero reason why kids in Rye should be going to another spot other than Trinity. That's why this is here for the athlete side of the house. We're not going anywhere. And we hope to take them all. We can take them in as small teams. We can take them in as little larger teams. We really do want to connect and keep them in home. And having someone like Steve, I believe is really going to bring that home for a lot of these athletic directors and coaches. Just speaking with him is, I think, going to change their mind rapidly about where their kids are going.
Well, I even saw this morning you working with someone, and that to me is what this place is all about. It's giving that person that undivided, special attention. I mean, you are just great, and I think that's what so many other people are going to be able to look forward to.
Yeah, listen, I hope so, and I know so, because the trainers here are that phenomenal, and it's really not only me. I don't want the spotlight to ever be on me in this place. I just run the place, that's it. Or I don't even run the place. I'm going to leave that on Steve's hand. I just own it. The trainers have any kind of issue, I alleviate it immediately. I do all the behind-the-scenes stuff. The main aspect of my day is still at Rye Health and Fitness, and then I kind of migrate over here when we're done there. So I really do want to highlight them. They're the true drivers of the success in this place. But to caveat, before I hit on what we're doing throughout the mornings, which are semi-privates, I do want to speak about the meal prep. So we do offer meals. It's not straight from us. We don't have the food licensing or any of that. We're not a restaurant. It's straight from the supplier to the consumer. So the Wooden Spoon in New Rochelle makes all the meals. They deliver all the meals to the home. We essentially take the orders, give it straight to them. However, the macro breakdown, so you have your proteins, your carbohydrates, your fats, and your water, which is obviously not in the meals, but it's part of your macronutrients. That macro breakdown is part of the nutrition concept that we have here. We're going to be running nutrition consultations and seminars monthly. So the next one's going to be January 27th at noon. We're going to run it right in here. We have Justin and Joanna, two of our trainers, who are going to be kind of streamlining that and talking on that. So if people want to sign up, I'm going to blast out an email. It's $15 a person. You get a free nutrition consultation at the end. And this is very, very important, not only for the semi-privates, but for the athletes as well, because we want to make sure they're fueling their bodies correctly. So we do the meal prep. Also, we do the semi-privates. So the semi-private personal training is a little different than what you're going to get at Rye Health and Fitness. So we like to say that anyone can be an athlete, and essentially semi-private just means you're coming and you're working out with friends. So it's still a personal training session. However, other people are in here. No more than 10 people can be in Trinity at one time. It's not the biggest space in the world, so we kind of cap it at that. The trainers are on the floor. Everything's personalized to you. There is one big workout for the day that everyone follows, but there's secondary and then there's tertiary exercises that you can do in case you're kind of hindered on one exercise. If you have knee pain, there's something you can do other than doing a split squat. If you have back pain, other than doing a deadlift, so on and so forth. So it's really systematic, and the program is phenomenal. I actually dive into the workouts too whenever I can, because it's a lot of fun, without a doubt. And we also offer, last but not least, supplements. So we have an RSP supplement line. It's all natural, very little ingredients, unlike some of these supplements. There's no proprietary blend, so you know what you're getting. And I do think that is a huge driver for athletes as well, and not only athletes, but just the everyday person walking around that aren't taking their multivitamins or their fish oil or their protein, so on and so forth. It's great to supplement and just add it in your body. You can really never get enough vitamins. And no one's taking in 9 to 11 servings of vegetables on an everyday basis, so it's great to supplement with stuff and just ensure that you're taking in the right nutrients.
Just absolutely incredible. And it's one of those things where it's okay to admit, and I think a lot of people don't truly understand all that stuff, but this is a perfect place to go to find that out. And you're getting it from great people, like you've said. But before we end this segment, I did want to touch on you and I have been talking this week about how you kind of really are that embodiment. And you're humble, so you wouldn't admit, but I really think that you are the embodiment of everything the U.S. Army wants out of a soldier. When you were in the service, you did everything the right way. You always were the best. You were a leader for your men. And then when you come out, you use the skills and all the resources available to you to come out into the civilian world and build a great life for your family. And right now with the business and everything you're doing, it really is incredible what you're doing. And what do you think can be done to help other people like you who hear your story? They're maybe in a similar spot and they're saying, but where do I start? You have any advice for them?
Sure. And the number one advice that I always tell veterans getting out of the military is use your GI Bill. If you don't use your GI Bill, you're doing something vehemently wrong. You have got to go to school. You've got to get that education. The Army or whatever branch of service has granted you the ability to go to school for free. And you absolutely have to follow your dreams and go to school. The route I took was I got an exercise science degree undergraduate. I knew I wanted to be in this field. I didn't know what it was at the time. I didn't think it would be personal training. It ended up being personal training. At first I thought maybe physical therapy, but after that I made a strong decision of what do I truly want to do? Do I want to try and get an MS in that, or do I want to run a business one day? So I decided I wanted to run a business, so I used my GI Bill for the MBA. I think that veterans have such an internal drive that I don't find throughout anyone else. I don't want people to play victim, because I understand, I've elaborated, I've touched on other shows, things go on. People have their own shtick, their own mental things going on in their head. I've seen VA psychs, I've been there, I've had the pills thrown at me, and I've just neglected kind of all of that embodiment that comes around the stigma of most veterans, and I just said, that's all BS. You can be anything you want to be in this world. All of it's BS. I remember before I left the Army, I was sitting down and talking to my commander, and he was like, what are you going to do? He's like, I can't believe you're leaving. You're growing this fast. You have X amount of schools coming up, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, sure, I'm going to own a business one day. And he was like, okay. And I said, no, I'm serious. Like, no one's going to tell me no, I'm going to own a business one day. And it was that drive. It's that drive that promoted me so fast in the military. It's that drive that you can do anything on the outside, too. A lot of veterans, too, and I know I'm spieling off, man. Things are just kind of popping in my head.
That's what is radio gold, my friend.
I know. I love it. So, a lot of the times people get out and you move back to a town around Rye, or you start working in a town like Rye, and you see all of these people who've done very well for themselves. A lot of the times people get intimidated. And you can think, man, I'm just a veteran. Like, I don't have the education these people do. I don't have this, that, the other. Use that to your advantage. People have no idea how other people look up to that type of authority and respected figure, because that's what it is. When people think of a veteran, everyone, you play Army as a kid. Look at John Cena. Like, people used to look up to him and he actually was a Marine, but people look up to him like he's almost a god at times, you know. And people do the same when they're playing with their little toy soldiers. They think these men are the best this country has to offer, and they are. But I really hope that the community, and especially in Westchester, can start truly believing that. And there's always a place here. My door's always open, and I'm always looking to hire veterans. I know what they bring to the table personally, and I just really hope that the stigma and the clauses can just go out the window, and people can start being themselves, because that's how they're truly going to succeed. Don't try to pretend to be someone that you're not.
Just absolutely incredible. And Mike, we really wish you the absolute best with this business. I mean, everything you're doing is so great. I always feel like anytime me or the listeners get to hear to you, it's like we've been listening to a lecture. It's just absolute gold. And we're looking forward to seeing this continue to grow. But Intellectual Combat with Mike Doody, always one of the best parts of this show. Thank you very much,
absolutely.
my friend.
Anyone is welcome. Please sit down. Sit down and have a conversation. We're
going to have more information about this, of course, for you. We're going to drop links and everything you need to know. But again, we're here at Trinity Fitness and Nutrition in Rye, New York. Mike Doody, you know him. He's always a part of the show.